My name's Scott Silverman. That's Silverman. We are in La Jolla, California right now, actually in my backyard. San Diego is our base, just north of Tijuana, as people like to say, home of the greatest zoo in the world. I found alcohol in my teens. I started drinking, and alcohol just made me feel part of. And I've learned over the years it's a disease of the inability to feel feelings, and so alcohol was my anesthesia. So for years I did that. Then I ran into other things that help get you to that level plane. Marijuana, cocaine, substance abuse was a big journey of mine. And nearly, taking it fast forward, when I got to my late 20s, I was ready to end my life. And it was a story, I won't go into detail today, but it was a story when I was on a business trip and I had a whole week of blackouts. What happened for me was I was ready to take my own life. And I had a divine intervention from this guy I didn't even know. And I flew home that night and I was in rehab the next day. That was back in 1984, November the 10th. So from that day forward, my life was different. And it was interesting for me to start my life all over. And I had a good time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I had a year, I was on disability, I went and got tested, and I did all the things that I now teach others how to do. So for me, the journey of what I'm doing today is a reflection of the journey I actually lived before. And through the writing of my book, Tell Me No, I Dare You, I really got a chance to not only practice the principles of what I learned personally and experience, but I'm now sharing them with others on a much larger scale. And it's really been a gratifying opportunity. And I went to work at one of our larger nonprofit charitable organizations in town on the food lines on Sunday through our temple. We had the Hunger Project because our people pray on Friday, so I was free on Sunday. So I started to do that. And as I'm working the feeding lines, after about 3 months, the head of volunteers comes up to me and says, Scott, most people work 1-2 weeks. You've been here 3 months. She goes, but that's not the scary part. The scary part is we feed 1,000 people every Sunday. How is it you know half of them? And I knew half of them from the history I'd had in the past or in the recovery community. And she says, it's just amazing to me. Everyone comes back, the one day you weren't here, everyone's looking for you. So one of the things I discovered by working there is folks got stuck in the system. You come in, you meet a social worker, they fill out paperwork, and they keep their job by doing your paperwork. So after about 6 months, I had enough people come up to me and say, I'm tired of waiting in line, blah, blah, blah. Will you help me get a job? And I said, why should I help you get a job? Well, everyone told me you have this background and you could help people. I said, well, would you be willing to do whatever it takes to go get and keep a job? And they'd look at me like, what does that mean? Go do everything I have to. I said, change your attitude, cut your hair, shave that thing you call a beard, roll down your sleeves, cover your tats, and do what's necessary to impress your next boss. Would you be willing to do all that? Well, no, if people aren't going to hire me for me, I don't want to go to work for them. I said, fine, see you next week. What do you mean? So we're done. I'm out of here. I got to go. I just finished 5 hours of volunteer work. And if you want to work next to me next Sunday, come by here 7 in the morning. I'll get you a job here. I don't want to do this. It's too early. I said, fine. When you're ready, let me know. A couple weeks go by. Sure enough, guy comes back. He goes, okay, I think I'm ready. I said, what do I have to do? I said, well, you got to shave. You got to cut that thing on your face you call a beard, and you got to put on long sleeve covering tattoos. Well, if that's what I have to do, then that's what I'll do. I said, when you do that, I'll help you the best I can. Another month goes by, he shows up, he's shaved, he cut his hair, he got a long sleeve shirt, I don't know where he got it. He told me he actually shoplifted it somewhere. I said, well, look, you made your effort with the tools you have. Let's see how we can change your thinking. So we sat down and I coached him through it, and 2 weeks later he comes back, he says, not going to believe it. I said, what? He says, I got a job. I went to my arena of people who are providing these services as a for-profit potential partner. Said, look, will you partner with me? Will you help me get your clients jobs and housing? Because they don't seem to be getting them in the system. These folks all basically did some research on me and said, look, Scott, we think your idea is a great one. You have a lot of enthusiasm, excellent passion. You probably have the skills and your background to do this, but we can't work with you. I said, why? Because the bottom line is, if you get our clients jobs, what will we do? I said, shut up. They go, seriously, if you get jobs for our clients, we'll put our industry out of business. I said, wait a second. This is 1992. Right? This conversation was going on. There's over 3,000 homeless people. I said, look, I can maybe help 25 in 1 year, maybe, with no resources. So you can have the other 2,975 people. And they go, sorry, we've made our decision. I went to the library the next day and opened up a book on how to start a nonprofit. And that was 1992, and that's how Second Chance got started. Now in 2009, we've helped a little over 25,000 people, a little over. It's a significant amount of folks, and we're getting better at it now. We have a 3-week training with a 3-week job readiness training with a 2-year follow-up. We have 175 alcohol and drug-free beds, a mental health support piece, and now our focus is really to help the ex-offender, one of the fastest-growing populations in our state, in California, and right now in the country. 1 in 31 Americans has now either been incarcerated, will be incarcerated, or has had exposure to the judicial system. So, and in our state, we have an 80% recidivism rate. So anything that we could do to bring that down, 8 out of 10 people in California, state prison, get out and recriminate and recidivate within 18 months post-release. It is scary. We've actually had 2 separate studies done, one by Cal State San Marcos, one by San Diego State University, and people who come into our 3-week program stay in our housing for 60 days, and that's most of our prison reentry employees. It's called PREP. That's our acronym that we created for that, actually for a funder who's now sunsetted, and we're finding other resources. 3-week training, 2-year follow, 60 days of housing that stay with the mental health piece, support, and the substance abuse treatment and relapse prevention. 7 out of 10 do not recidivate after 2 years on the study. So we actually have a model that could eradicate over 30% of our $11 billion problem. We could actually save the state of California in 10 years $3.3 billion. To really get systemic change and to get people empowered and give them tools to be successful, we cannot keep doing what we've always done because we're continuing to get what we've always gotten. Our goal is to take our model statewide in California and eventually to go national with it, because it's simple, it's straightforward, it makes sense, the taxpayer saves money, people get empowered, families get back together again, we create new taxpayers, they get access to health care, and communities are better than they ever were because people now are becoming passionate stakeholders. That's what I like to call them. We want to be that bridge. We want to create that seamless opportunity from incarceration to the community and be as big an advocate for that population we can. And our investor and our agency, because most of our funding is private, they get their return on investment and they go, I like this. You're actually giving people tools so they don't have to depend on the system. Is that counterintuitive? I said, it might be in some arenas, but not in ours. In my book, and I talk about with the 5 keys, and one of the first ones is take your no, turn into yes. The second is to make a commitment to that. Yes, whatever it is. You want to go back to school. You want to get a new job. You want to back one of your colleagues. You want to help a constituency move to the next level in the political arena. You want to add more education. You want to make more money. You want to be happier. Whatever you want to do, find your yes. Make that commitment. Your biggest and best kept secret might be in your living room. Your biggest and most powerful advocate might be down the hallway in your house. Your biggest supporter might be your oldest friend, and putting your hand up saying, hi, my name's Scott, I need help, will you help me? That's not easy, but it's amazing what happens when you do it. For me, it's watching people come up to the podium on graduation and say, they're 38 years old, 43 years old, 52 years old. This is the first thing I've ever graduated from other than a prison sentence. And in the back of the room is my mom's and my mom's boyfriend and my grandkids from Baba and my sister's here. And then, you see them 2-3 months later and they come back, I got a job. And then they come back a couple months later, I've got my family back. And you see them 2 years later and they bought a house. That's why I do this, watching the real heroes in our world. I watch these men and women graduate from something that was not a long-term sentence of incarceration, talk about their excitement and how they've overcome their no's, and they're really the heroes. Because I think there's a hero in every single one of us.